What's up, guys? I'm back. I'm back in action. This is week 10. I'm going to jump right into it. I hope you guys are having an amazing week. I hope your 2021 you've hit all your goals that you needed to hit. Now, we are currently, just so you know, we are currently in the fourth quarter. Can you believe it? Man, time flies. So if you're making any type of excuses or you're complaining right now, get off that train. Make sure that you're super focused on where it is that you want to go for 2022. Get focused now. Don't set a New Year's resolution. Set life resolutions right now. Get excited, because I'm excited right now. I'm excited to talk about keeping score. That's week 10. And this is our success in 12-week program. And at the end of the day, look, we're on week 10 and we're flying right through it. So here's what I'm going to talk about. Like I said, I'm really excited about this message, and this particular concept, keeping score or keeping track of your small wins so that you can get to the big wins, is literally a life-changing concept in my opinion. The concept is called, like I said, keeping score. And if you haven't done this before, this will 100% open your eyes if you haven't been able to keep score or you're not used to doing that. And I'm going to give you some action steps today to get to those steps. So the cycle of success, right, equals small wins lead to big wins. That's what I always say. Small wins always lead to big wins. And a lot of people, when they start on a new project, or a new idea or a new vision for their life, they get emotionally attached to this big picture vision, and they want it to happen today or tomorrow, or they just want it to happen in a short period of time, right? And then what ends up happening is they become impatient, and inevitably that just pretty much kicks in. Now, because we want this thing, and we could see ourselves in a much bigger capacity than we currently are right now. That's how we're seeing ourselves. We're envisioning that we can be much bigger than where we are, but we're not quite there yet, and you're not there yet. But here's what happens. If you're not careful, guys, this can actually cause a lot of negative emotion or a negative mindset in your life. And I know I've been there. I've been that person that doesn't celebrate small wins. But I realize that when I make a small win, it's huge. I now celebrate. I go buy myself a new pair of shoes, a new pair of pants, whatever the case may be, to celebrate my win. I do it. I just do it because I know that it's going to lead to a much bigger win. Now, if we strive for these big wins and we forget that along the way, as we set goals and as we take action, basically to move towards these bigger visions, we're actually growing and evolving and making strides as an individual, as a person. We're building character right at the end of the day. And we're doing these things that we've never done before, but they're still small in comparison to these big things that we're actually shooting for. Now, if we forget these small victories along the way, guys, if we forget to celebrate them as successes, that can turn into a very poisonous mental state, because we're delaying our own personal gratification. Now, listen in, tune in. We're forgetting to congratulate ourselves and be proud of ourselves for all the hard work we're doing along the way. This can literally kill your motivation. This can actually kill the dream, and because you will basically have a tendency to abandon it all together. And that's what it really ends up happening. So with this week, I'm really going to reconnect you with the fact that you're doing this and this particular program with me in general. You're going through this 12-week process, and it's enough in itself for you to be happy and proud of yourself. It really is. And I want you to take the time to think back on some of the things that you've achieved and that you've accomplished that were small wins that actually led to the big ones. Now, the fact that you're going through this basically week by week and making positive change in your life and taking your life to a new level with small changes, that's super powerful. That is amazingly powerful. And each and every day, you have something to celebrate because you've done something to improve your life. Now, to me, this is awesome for motivation, because if you do not do this, if you forget this concept, it could be your downfall. So I want you to turn that around. Here's what I want you to do. Now, if you start tracking your small wins, I'm talking about the smallest wins in a day. It could be anything. It could be literally going for a walk. I mean, right? That's kind of a small win in a sense for some people. Some for some people that's a big win. So whatever it is that you label it as, that's fine. Now, this could be happening 15 to 20 to 30 times per day. You hold the door open for somebody. I do it all the time. I think it's imperative. Even if they don't say thank you, guess what? That doesn't matter because that's their problem. Celebrate that win that you open the door for someone. Remember to be a giver because giving effectively gets you. And there's an old saying that I want to tell you, and it goes like this: help enough people get what they want, and you'll have everything you want. I learned that from Zig Ziglar. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but look it up. I'm kind of digressing off the track here, but I just wanted to kind of throw that in here. So look, hold the door open for somebody. I do it all the time, like I said. And you remember to affectionately say goodbye to your family member, your spouse, or anyone, doesn't matter who it is, or welcome them when they come home from work instead of being too wrapped up in your work. That's I think that's important as well. That's a small win you could take note of and just basically document that. If you start tracking all these things in a single spot, it could be written or it could be digital, whatever you want. You can start seeing this giant success log of all these amazing things you've done, right? By journaling it, by writing it down. Those are all the things that I think we miss. And we forget that those are super important in our lives, that we have to visualize things that when we see it on paper, it actually comes to fruition most of the time. Everything I've ever done that I've written down and that I've envisioned it and I've implanted in my head, it has come to fruition. It's kind of like when I'm going to buy a new car. All of a sudden I start to see that car all the time before I even bought it. And then that might encourage me to either buy it or not buy it. But at the end of the day, maybe I'm going to then upgrade, right? So it just depends on where you are in that current moment. Now, you have basically like a single repository you can visit on an ongoing basis. I'm going back to where I started. And you can just use that as an ongoing basis that actually boosts your motivation versus what you would like what you would like it naturally to do for you, which is look at this long-term vision you haven't hit and start feeling negative about yourself, right? And that's the part that I'm talking about, that you need to, you need to start to log things that were your small wins that help you get to the larger wins. Now you have, like I said, I repeat, you now have a single repository you can visit on an ongoing basis. And all that means is I just gave you something that is a solid idea or tip that you can use for journaling purposes, right? Or writing down. That's what the repository means. And that's what I want. That's all I want to do is I want to encourage you this week and this month is to create a place you can visit on an ongoing basis, maybe even a daily or multiple times a day, to remind yourself you are making progress, right? Because we have to constantly remind ourselves, because what happens is you fall into a little bit of a rut. And I'm guilty of this as well, that I may not feel like I'm making progress, but I'm making massive strides. And that goes for anyone. And and that's because I don't celebrate the small wins. I forgot that those small wins are definitely 100% going to lead me to the bigger wins. And if I don't do that, I'm self-sabotaging myself. And that is 100%. We must do that. Remind yourself that you are making progress, guys, and that you are having a substantial wins each and every day. And you should be congratulating yourself for it. It's a huge source of motivation. So when we want to do that with some specific action steps, these are the things that I'm going to provide you. Okay, now the first thing, get your pen and pad, your paper, whatever you got to get right now, and write this down. The first thing is I want to suggest you record all of your big and small wins this week. It might start with, like I said earlier, a tiny action that you took, greeting your spouse with love instead of being too consumed in your work or with Facebook. That's a small win, and it really is. But it's also a bit in the grand, it's big in the grand scheme of things. Because if you do that every single day for years and years and years, that fosters a more positive relationship. So start tracking both your big wins and your small wins, right? Write this down. If you get a big deal in a sales job or whatever job, right? Great. Note that. Put it down. If you get out of the bed early to do your workout, maybe that's a small win in your book. Track it. Write it down. The next week we're going to do something like a little bit bigger, right? You're going to go back in your mind and revisit your 10 greatest wins, and successes in your lifetime. Now, believe it or not, guys, you might have forgotten about some of those awesome things that you've achieved in the span of your lifetime. And you're so consumed with what you haven't achieved yet that you forget, and we forget all about the things that we've done over time, right? Over in the last 3 months or 90 days or the last year. What have you done, right? If you've done something amazing things, wow, celebrate it. In fact, I've noticed a lot of people tend to, when they go back in time in their memory, to dwell on things they haven't done so well in the past. And they use that to create negative emotion in their body. Now, why not flip the coin here? That is a question. Flip the switch and do something a little bit different this time. So go back and think about some of the amazing things you've done and write them down, 1 through 10, and really relish in the memory of that awesome experience that you created, or that we created in general. Next, the third week, or if you will, or the third session, or with yourself, list any lessons that you learned from your greatest wins and successes. Actually, that's going to be your third week, because I already gave you the first, second, and third. Now, we'll be in our third week right now. And if you're doing this on a weekly basis, you're going to see progress if you do it. Okay? Now, go back and look at the actions you took. Look at the state of mind you were in. What kind of mood were you in general on a daily basis when you did have this big win or you achieved this big thing? Are you acting or behaving like different today or than you were back then? Like, just kind of figure that out. Are you different now versus how you were back then? Can you envision what that felt like? Can you revisit the state of mind that you actually had back then to maybe repeat that kind of success? Now, this allows you basically to, if you will, foster all of the kind of environment that you want to achieve more, and then you'll start to achieve more of these big wins. Now, finally, this is the biggest one. Really, it is. Track and analyze the wins that you've had in the first 10 weeks of this course. Go back and do it. I promise you, you will see progress if you are actually following the weekly plan that I've put out. And actually, it hasn't been a weekly plan, but I have been putting them out, and I hope that some of you have been following this whole process. And we hadn't really introduced this until now. So you're going to be doing this moving forward, just tracking your success on a daily basis moving forward. But take some time to revisit everything you've learned and all the things that you've accomplished just starting the Success in 12-Week program. Have you achieved a major objective? Have you started a new job, right, guys? I mean, maybe you open a new business. I don't know. Whatever that may be, write it down. Maybe you lost some weight, or you got in better shape, or you've done some things that, you're not really. Maybe you've done some things that had you not started this program, you wouldn't have done. Did you think of that? Take time to note those things. Write them down. Write down the experiences you got from that and what you learned from it. And then you'll have all kinds of motivations to keep doing this thing moving forward. So guys, look, I really appreciate you getting on here. Take everything that I said today, write it down, put it on paper, and celebrate your small wins so that you can get those big wins. Thank you, guys.